Hi, my name is Chris. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing Leetcode problem 1572, matrix diagonal sum in JavaScript. Alright, so it's given a square matrix mat, return the sum of the matrix diagonals. Only include the sum of all the elements of the primary diagonal and all the elements of the secondary diagonal that are not part of the primary diagonal. Alright, so what does this mean? So this is the primary diagonal, this is the secondary diagonal. We see that 5 is in both, so we only want to count it once, right? So basically, we're returning 25, right? Because we're adding 1 plus 5 plus 9 in the primary diagonal, and then 3 plus 7 in the secondary diagonal. We're going to leave out 5 because we already got 5. So 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 3 plus 7 equals 25. All right, let's talk about how we do this before we start coding it out. Well, obviously we're going to get a variable called sum, and just set it to 0. Then we need to find a way to loop through this 2D array and get each of these numbers, right? So what we can do is let's look at the indices. Like, imagine if we have a for loop, right? And we're going to use I as, our variable, right? But if we notice in the primary diagonal, the indice of 1 is going to be 0, 0. The indice of 5 is going to be 1, 1. And the indice of 9 is going to be 2, 2, right? So basically, if we do a for loop and we just loop through the length of mat, you can just do like sum plus equals I. Mat at I, right? That's all you got to do. But then we need to figure out the secondary diagonal, right? So this one, so 3 is going to be at 0, 2. 5 again is going to be at 1, 1, and then 7 is going to be at 2, 0. So the first number is going to be I. That's easy. So mat at I, right? Remember, we're in a for loop here. And then this one, 2, well, we can think of it as mat. Am I doing this right? Yeah. Mat. Mat dot length. Right. So the length is 3. So we need to subtract 1. Right, because there's 0 indexed, and then we also subtract I, right? So since mat.length minus 1 is going to be 2. Here, I is 0, so we get 2. And then here, I is 1, so we get 1. And then here, I is 2, so we get 0. So that's how we get the secondary diagonal. Then the last thing we're going to do, and we'll just do this in CodePen, but if you notice, if it's odd, if the length is an odd number, we have this scenario where both diagonals have this middle number. If it's even, we don't have that problem. So we're going to check to see if the length is odd, and if it is, we're going to subtract the middle number. Okay, so let's get rid of all this. Oops. What's going on? There we go. And let's grab this. Move on over to CodePen. Create our variable. And then here's your function. And like we said, we're going to create a variable called sum. Just going to equal 0, 0. Set up a for loop. If I is less than mat.length, I plus plus, and then at the end of the day, we will return sum. Just log in the console so we can see what we got going on here. There you go. So now we should just see 0. So inside the for loop, we're going to grab our primary diagonal. And so remember what we just said, it's always going to be mat at I, right? So you can say sum plus equals mat I at I. And we're getting 15 because we're getting 1 plus 5 plus 9, so that equals 15. Now we're going to get the secondary diagonal. So we say sum plus equals, and we're going to be able to use I again, but then here, if you remember, we said we need to use mat.length minus 1 because the array is 0 indexed, and then minus I. And now we have 30, because remember we had 15 for the primary, and now we're adding 3, 8, 18, 5, 23, 7, 30, right? So that's all working great. The only issue is we only want to add 5 to the sum once. Excuse me. So last thing we need to do is we need to put an if check to see if mat.length modulus 2 does not equal 0, then we're going to subtract that middle number. So the way we can find that is by just saying mat at math.floor mat.length divided by 2, and then we need another. We just copy this and put that in there. That'll give us the middle number. All right, that's all there is to it. So let's go ahead and copy our code, move back over to Leetcode, paste it in, format it. Let's run the tests. Great. Let's submit it. Fantastic. All right, hopefully you found this video enjoyable and helpful. If you did, please give it a like. It helps my channel to grow. If you'd like to see more like these, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you again real soon.